Good afternoon, Charlie. Welcome
Mr.
to a special edition of Talking Florida Rugby Occasionally. How are you?
Good. You just made that up because we don't even know what this is,
No, we don't
right?
have a name for it yet, but I'm in my work truck, the quietest place I can find on a weekday afternoon. The angle doesn't do me any justice with the chins, but that's all right.
There is no angle. There is no angle. Don't worry.
There's no angle that's going to save this face,
No,
no.
no,
So
no.
thanks for joining us. We're going to have a special edition here. We'll get to our preview of the season coming up in the next couple of weeks. We're going to have hopefully go live after that first crazy weekend on January 22nd when,
Yes.
I think most of the league games get going. Most of the leagues get going, I should say. We'll have an episode hopefully right after that on the Sunday or the Monday. But until now, we're going to have a quick little special episode here with Mark Diaz of the Hartford Harpooners, who we just found out is a Florida resident. Barely. He's not even in our time zone, but he is a Florida resident. So let's bring in Mark Diaz from the Hartford Harpooners. Mark, welcome to TFRO.
Hi, Mark.
Oh, hey, how are you? Good to see you two gentlemen.
Man, I think we just saw you a little while ago, right?
Yeah, full disclosure, Charlie forgot to hit record on take one. We didn't get quite all the way through, and plus my phone overheated and kicked me out, so
Yeah,
now I'm
so
having to
it's-
hold the phone instead of putting it on the dashboard, even though it's only mid-70s here. But Mark from the Hartford Harpooners is here, and he'll talk to us teach you all about who the Hartford Harpooners are and his goal with them. He is a Florida resident, so
barely.
based out of Panama City Beach, which Charlie found out earlier today for the first time that we have some central time zone people in Florida, which Charlie had no idea about.
Well,
Shows you how much he's traveled. Charlie doesn't get outside the 305 very much. But
when I
Mark,
have to.
welcome. Thanks for joining us on this January afternoon.
Oh, I appreciate it. Thank you very much.
Now, Mark is involved with the Hartford Harpooners. Now, some of you may have heard of them. Those of you that were around at Ruggerfest last year will know that they combined with Optimus and won the Ruggerfest Premier Division last year, the final that I refereed, and subsequently pulled a groin and was out for like 2 or 3 months, I think, after that, because I was having to chase these fast guys. But I did bust my backside that day, and it was a fun game. And the Harpooners came down and showed everybody in South Florida who they are. But some people perhaps still don't know who they are. So, Mark, tell us about. Well, give us your rugby background first before we get into the Harpooners.
All right, well, I'm originally from Saginaw, Michigan. I've always been involved in sports. I was kind of a late bloomer, but I've been surrounded by a lot of great athletes growing up and while I was in the Air Force. So they always pushed me. Like I said, all through high school, I was surrounded by great athletes. The neighborhood and the area that I'm from produced a lot of professional athletes as well. So when I got into the Air Force, I was always involved in sports. And I got introduced to rugby by a guy by the name of Mark Young. His nickname is Angus. And he's very well known in the rugby community. He was involved in the U.S. Air Force rugby team. He's involved in other rugby teams as well. And also when the All Blacks actually come into the country, they actually call him and he helps manage them and take them around and do things when they're doing their exhibition matches or when they come to the States. So he's very well known. And he started a team called the Panama City Beach Hurricanes. And he found me messing around at Frank Brown one day in my first rugby match. My first introduction to rugby was actually a rugby match. He saw me run, and he said, "Do you want to play?" I said, "Yes," and he threw me in the fire. My first introduction to rugby was a real game, and it's been fun ever since.
Awesome. I know you sort of transitioned a little bit more now to the sort of coaching, organizational side of things. So how did the Harpooners kind of come about? You're down here. I know Marcus has lived in Florida. He's more up north that way now. But how did the Harpooners come about in the first place?
So that's all Marcus. That was Marcus's team. That was his idea. His goal is to have an MLR team. And he's a good friend of mine outside of rugby as well. We've always been very competitive. I was lucky enough to, help with Optimus out of Atlanta. They've been playing, a very successful sevens team. We're a very close group. And when Marcus introduced me to them, it was a bond. And, Marcus actually lives in Connecticut and I live here. And one day we were always being competitive with each other. He had his team and I had my team. And one day he had a combine. And when I came up there to visit him because he invited me, we just decided to let's team up together. Let's make this work. And so, he is my friend. We talk about everything and we just kind of meshed. The network of men that I've been able to associate with and the guys that he knows, we kind of just combined forces and it's been a blessing ever since.
So would you consider it a club or sort of an invitational side, with the opportunity just to get guys elite level rugby as much as they can? I assume that's sort of where you guys are heading,
Yes. We're definitely a select side, but eventually we're trying to move up. Like I said, we do have a game January 28th versus Seattle Seawolves. So we have been traveling, playing a lot of high level rugby teams. We played the Denver XOs. We played HTX out of Texas. And then we got invited to the Classic Eagles. We won that tournament. Great group of men. It's just, and then just recently we won Freetail Sevens. So, we are moving up, making this the best experience for guys as much as humanly possible.
And you guys have been around since when were the Harpooners? When did they first get put together?
I say 2 years ago.
Yeah, it's in 2020, right? Was when everybody kind of started hearing about you. And now you have a pool of, how many players now would you have? I know you do 15s and 7s, which some, most invitational teams do one or the other. Some do both, but that's a great thing that you guys do both.
Yes, we have. Wow, it grows. It started off with this. It really started off with about maybe 20 guys. And now in the app that we have with each other, it's reached over 200. Every tournament, it just, like word gets out and people want to join, people want to play. They love the environment that Marcus and I bring. That we try to bring the best environment for any player to come. We want them to feel welcome. We don't have any cliques. So I know certain rugby teams have their own little group of guys. We try to make everyone feel welcome, whether you're brand new or whether you've been playing with us for, since we started. We want everybody feel welcome. So, now I think it's over 200, if I'm not mistaken. It's over 200 players in our pool that we've had to be able to pick from.
Awesome.
So it gets
stuff.
tough too for tournaments.
So you guys obviously find players come to you and you say, okay, we want to enter a tournament. Say you mentioned Freetail Sevens in Texas. You say, we want to enter this tournament, and you just sort of put the word out saying who can make it. Or do you sort of say, do you select and then you select from that group, or how does that work?
So normally Marcus will throw an app. He'll get on the app. He'll say, all right, this is what we have available. And then we'll talk, and then we'll see who's all available and who wants to come. And then the hardest part, which I'm telling you, it is hard. I'm pretty sure you've been there plenty of times. The hardest part is selecting. And before it wasn't that hard. Before it was pretty easy because nobody really wanted to, it's hard when you're first starting a team. Everybody's like, they're thinking about joining you. They know other people because there's other great names. There's other awesome teams out there. So, now the list went from here to now you've got a list of, everybody's available. So you kind of just have to swap through and see, who's available. And sometimes at the end, guys drop out last minute. Finances are not always there because we all know that rugby is not cheap, especially when, you've got to take off in inter tournaments. So we're trying our best to fix that as well. But sometimes the list goes on. We'll have a list and we pick, Marcus and I will go through the list. We'll pick the group and try to sit the best out there to play.
And obviously, you're competing with the other invitational select sides out there as well, I assume, and that, they're also entering similar tournaments and you perhaps have to get to them first, or how does that, obviously you have your core guys, I assume, that are always going to play for you if you ask them to, but I assume you're also competing with the other sides as well in that pool.
Yes, the best thing to do is, like I said, I think some of it's the environment. A lot of those teams are very well financed, and they have great. I mean, their leaders are awesome. That's why a lot of those guys don't go anywhere. So we have to try to do our best to win them over. So that's when I come in. I kind of say I have the gift of gab, and I try my best to do my recruiting, and I've always try to make guys feel as comfortable as possible. So when they do join us, they're they think about staying, and it's been working. I can say there's a method to my madness. I know sometimes I drive Marcus nuts with some of the things that I do about how I get players, but it's nothing shady. It's just really funny how I do it because he's it's just different. I say, hey man, trust the process, because I'm also a high school basketball coach. So, getting kids and learning to them. So, yeah, I'm able to talk to the kids. Sometimes I can relate to them a little bit more because I feel like I'm a big kid myself because, during basketball season and practice, I'm around the kids anyway. So, now some of these guys are, I call them kids, but I got them by 20 years. So, they're still kids to me. So,
hey, Mark, you've had some Florida players on the team, right?
Yes, sir.
Tell us about these players and how did you get to recruit them?
Okay, so I have competed against Matty Core and Adrian Salazar with the Stormers with
Okay.
Optimus. I've seen those guys more than anything. So, they're a good team. The Stormers have always been around whenever sevens is coming. You're going to have to play them, and
Oh,
they're always a tough team. And so, luckily, Optimus, we've always played them, and we know the guys that give us a good match. I will say, we've won that tournament several times when we played them, but still, Matty Core and Adrian have always stood out. They've always played. Dwayne Parks, he's always very, very fast. Those guys are amazing. You know what I mean? So to actually have them on our team is even better now than playing against them. That was very good. So I'd rather, and that made our team even better.
well,
Especially when those guys, like I said, their experience.
you may have them playing against you coming the next Ruggerfest. They are probably going to be with the Stormers.
Well, we're watching on the main screen here. We're watching the highlights from last year's final, which I refereed. I think it was against Green Bay, if I remember correctly.
Yeah.
You guys playing as Optimus. Talk about how. So give us an example, Mark, about how did you put that team together? Who was on that team? Was there some local guys, some guys from around the country? Just I know there was some serious talent on that team. Perhaps you can talk about as well. Obviously, this was a tens tournament, so you had a little slightly bigger squad to bring than normal.
Yes. So that team, wow. So if you look at that team now, you have Eric Napolsky, the #1 draft pick for the MLR draft. There it is, scoring right there. You've got Manate Akwai that played for Old Blue. You have Zach Shell out of Pittsburgh. You got Marcus Atavo playing. You've got Aiden Smith that's playing for Kutztown. He's a standout at his college right now. I mean, Nolan Tuhamahaloa, he is right now with Rugby ATL. You've got John Truex, he plays, he's also a force to be reckoned with. Sam Patterson is playing out there with 404. I mean, Gio Dugan right now is actually going to the Canadian international team back home. That's where he's from. The team was loaded. I mean, you got Hiko Malu, which is another pro athlete that played MLR. He was out there. Celeste Tongamoa, Maddie Houston, all the pro. I mean, there was pros. The list goes on. I can name you all the guys. I didn't want to sit there, but it just, that team was fully loaded.
It was. I had a blast refereeing that final. I think sometimes the better quality games are easier to ref than some of the garbage stuff that I end up reffing sometimes down here in Florida. So it was a pleasure to ref. So you guys are going to come back. I know you mentioned Ruggerfest again this year. It was a great success last year, I think, going to this tens format. It seems like they're doing well again, looking ahead to this year coming up, in the middle of next month, February, down here in Fort Lauderdale. So you're bringing a men's team, I heard, as well as a women's team.
Yes. So the women's team, we're excited for them. The women's team did really well. It was our first debut even trying a women's team in Freetail Sevens. They did really well there. So we're going to go ahead and take them to Fort Lauderdale. And then the men's team, it's going to be a little different. We're going to bring a developmental team. So some of those guys who feel like they can make the roster for the bigger tournaments and the bigger teams that we play, this is going to be their time to play. And so this gives them their shot rather than, playing and being backups. We're going to make this almost like a tryout for the bigger team. So it'll give some of the younger guys a chance to really shine who don't get a lot of playing time when they come with us.
Gotcha. Now, Charlie and I are always in favor of, players in Florida trying to play the best competition and with teammates as well that they can. Florida rugby sometimes gets a bit of some people look down on Florida rugby because of the quality, but we've obviously produced a ton of talent individually. And so
Yes.
how would you suggest, somebody wants to get involved perhaps with the Harpooners if they think they have the talent, to join your program? How would they go about doing it? Or, perhaps get a look from you guys.
Well, we do have an Instagram page, the Hartford Harpooners. You can message there at the Hartford Harpooners Instagram page. Also on Facebook, the Hartford Harpooners. And you can go on Facebook and you can actually message Marcus Satavu, myself, Mark Diaz, on Facebook. And on Instagram, it's Marky Diaz 82 on Instagram. If you message us, talk to us, tell us a little about yourself. Marcus and I will get back to you right away, or as soon as we can. We always try to get back really quick with players. We do have a lot of messages, but we're pretty timely in how we get back with you.
Yeah, and how do you kind of filter that? How do you filter players out? Charlie's, videographer himself, so I know I do my scouting for USA U18s. We're always harping on people about getting those highlights, getting yourself on video, Is that one of the easiest ways to do it? Say, here, Mark, look, here's my highlights from my season this year. Am I somebody who could, help out the Harpooners?
Yes, definitely. That's the easiest way to do it. We get tape. Come to a tournament. If there's a tournament you see us at, try to get there. Try to play against us. That's one thing. That's another thing. I've always wanted to play against the best and play against them. And I feel like if I want to join an elite team, that's how you join it. You play against them and show them that you belong. So if there's a chance to whore on to another team, go for it. Play and stand out. I mean, Matt Core did it. We watched Matt Core play against us. That's why we wanted him. Matt Core's with the Stormers, Adrian with the Stormers, and when they asked to play, it was like a no-brainer because every time they were loyal to their team and they've always played and they've always stood out. And that's how I knew them. We've always played against them, but then when it came time, it was like a no-brainer when they came to ask because we played against. Same thing with Dwayne. As soon as I saw Dwayne in LA Sevens, he played against us, and we have our speedster, John Truex. And when Dwayne was running right there with him, that was, wow. Like I said, another example of a Florida player that I saw. And then when he reached out, it was like, okay, cool. Yeah, no problem.
Yeah, it's another thing Charlie and I always talk about. That there's always somebody watching. Get out of Florida as much as you can and play in these invitational tournaments. The sevens. Sevens is obviously the easiest way perhaps to get exposure because you play, 3 or 4 games in a day or a weekend rather than one 15s game where you could perhaps just have one bad game. But I always encourage the young kids that looking to take their game to the next level, to get out the state. It costs money, but get to these tournaments. Go find these invitational sides, whether it's the Harpooners or the Stars or the Gypsies, the other ones where there's people out there that want to play higher level rugby that isn't always available in their state. So it's an awesome opportunity that you guys are putting together. What's up next for the Harpooners other than Ruggerfest?
So, like I said, at the end of the month, we're playing the Seattle Seawolves January 28th in Seattle, in Tukwila at the stadium. Nice. It's at 7:00, so it's a night game. So we're preparing for that. We're pretty excited. And then right after that, we're going to be, we're going to do Ruggerfest, and then we have LA Sevens coming up. So we're looking forward to that as well. So that's basically what we have going on. And then whatever falls in our lap, we're going to go for it. So we're hoping to have maybe another if we have a great show out against Seawolves, hopefully we'll get another invitation from another professional team to play. So
Mark,
we're just trying.
Mark, you mentioned, I don't know if in this cut or the previous one that we didn't record, that you guys had the goal to create an MLR team. Is that something that you are still pursuing?
Yes, we are. We are still. Like I said, but it's baby steps. We have to do that by playing the best teams that let us available and keep winning. So yes, the goal eventually is to do that.
And you need a lot of money also. Where would this team? Where would this team be located? Hartford, Connecticut is where Marcus. So yeah, that's what the team is. The Hartford Harpooners. Marcus lives in Connecticut, so that's where eventually he would like the team. Okay, that would be great.
Well, great stuff, Mark. If anybody wants to reach out to Mark and you didn't catch the information, you can obviously go back and watch. You can rewind on this, or reach out to Charlie and I, and we can put you in touch with Mark. As you said, they're at Hartford Harpooners. Marky Diaz, or Marcus Sutavu as well on Facebook and Instagram. You should be able to find it pretty easily. I remember I did back in the day when I was trying to get a roster. I was trying to get a roster from you guys from Ruggerfest because I was like, there were some serious players on that team. I need to know who you guys had, because we wanted to talk about it on the podcast, and we had you guys on after that. So looking forward to seeing you guys down here next month. And it's always good to hear from the other end of the state of Florida.
Thank you very much. Like I said, I really appreciate it. I know, Charlie's busy, you're busy, and it's awesome to have you guys take time out of your day and just help me out and support as well. Like I said, hopefully we get some more Florida boys on this roster, because I do know there's a lot of talent in this state, a lot of speed and a lot of talent, and we definitely want them on board so we can try to make the dream come true for everyone.
For sure. All about giving back to the game. Thanks, Marky.
Thank you very much, Mark. Bye. It's been a pleasure.
Yeah, take care.
Bye-bye.
Bye.
So there it goes. Ross, next time I'll make sure I record this thing from the beginning so we don't have to do it twice. And we probably, can continue doing these type of, small, short stuff that come up.
Yeah, 20 minutes or so,
occasionally.
Learn a bit more about people involved, in Florida rugby, and that are helping give back to the game in a positive way, like Mark.
You can skip your lunch and, lose some weight.
Gotta get rid of this shit. Gotta get the phone a little higher up here.
Okay, man. Nice seeing you. And
you too, mate. Yeah, we'll see you in a week or two. We'll do a season preview, and then we'll get going on that weekend of the 22nd when things get crazy with 20 plus games around the state, starting the 2022 season. Hopefully, COVID permitting.
Looking forward to it.
Cheers, mate.
Bye bye. Thank you.